friends. You're not my lover, more like a brother. I know you since we were like 10. Yeah, don't mess it up, talking that shit. Only gonna push me away, that's it. When you say you love me, that made me crazy. Here we go again. Don't go look at me with that look in your eye. You really ain't going nowhere without a fight. You can be reasonable, but don't be impolite. I told you 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6,000 times. Haven't I made it obvious? Haven't I made it clear?
Dear listeners and viewers, hello and welcome to this weekly meeting of your program Spectra. We usually meet on Thursdays, but this week we're meeting on Friday because I have a very special guest with me, and I will not consider her a guest tonight. She is a co-presenter with me, Cindy Martin. Hello.
Scana Swagwego. My name is Cindy Martin, and I'm really happy to be here. Thank you.
Thank you. It's a pleasure. Cindy Martin is a very active woman of Aboriginal origin, and she is a human rights and an environmental activist. So, Cindy, relationships, friendships between men and women.
Yes, it's a very interesting topic as to being able to communicate with one another and have a understanding to show respect and loyalty and looking at the deeper aspect of cooperation.
And a lot of people would, actually in some cultures, it is strictly prohibited. Friendship between men and women is strictly prohibited. It's a big taboo. Mm-hmm. It's a big no-no. You should never talk about it. You should never approach this. And in some cultures, it's okay. In other cultures, it's normal. But there's always a fine line between friendship and romance. So when will a friendship, follow the right path? When will it be a steadfast friendship? And when will it go astray, in your opinion, between a man and a woman?
Well, I believe that the individuals have to know themselves and what they want in friendships or a relationship. They have observed people long enough to know the difference between a healthy individual to maybe a non-healthy person, and it's based on the type of respect or that they demonstrate to one another or to other people. Mm-hmm. Friendships, all friendships begin with caring, an aspect of caring, and the deeper that level of caring, it can manifest into more intimate or soulful type of kinship between those two people. I really find that relationships with individuals are very unique depending on who they are, they come from, and what they offer to each other, whether it's education or cultural sharing. Maybe it's even the same aspects of things, mutual likes and dislikes.
So you think that friendship is mostly, and first and foremost, it's caring. Yes. So whether between a man and a woman or between two women or two men, mm-hmm. it's mostly caring. But again, when it's a relationship between a man and a woman, mm-hmm. there's always a second possibility. So caring is, if it goes too deep, maybe it can evolve into romance. It can evolve into a romantic love. Mm-hmm. So can a friendship, or can your friend sometimes be a lover in disguise? Undercover lover?
Mm-hmm. Well, like I was saying, for men and women, the basic aspect of being human is what makes us different from from each other, is our level of caring. And say, for example, if someone was in a car wreck and I'm driving by, I have the choice to stop and help that person, or I drive by.
Okay.
So I'm caring for my fellow man. And whether there's a relationship or not, that's the first and foremost level of caring that you can give to another human being.
But why care about this man and not another one?
That's
and
right.
Why should I care about this woman more than another woman? Like, there is something going on, right?
Well, you carry that aspect of compassion that, that makes you extend yourself to someone in need or that needs your help. And you can be complete strangers. Even if your friendship between a man and a woman, or two women or two men, that friendship has to have respect for each other. And as to saying, I'm going to stop and help you, but I don't want you to hurt me because, you want my car.
Okay, I understand. Yeah, so we're there for each other as long as we don't hurt each other's lives.
Right.
So can we define a friend as a soulmate, or is this too much for a friend to say that my friend is my soulmate? Is this possible?
I think that when we talk about that level of soulmate, there's a level of spiritual connection between those two people. And what I mean for that is that the two people know when they are in time of need with that other person, and they don't have to, always call that person and say, I need your help with something, or they just have that innate ability,
sort of telepathy between them. They can read each other's minds.
Yeah, and they'll say, I was just going to call you because this is what happened to my day today, or it's that feeling of loss or turmoil that person is really feeling, that they might know how to help that person, or be there for them without even being asked, or like drawn. They're there, right?
But again, like if you're thinking about someone too much, like day and night, because if I'm there for you whenever you need me, and then this means that you're always on my mind, or like it's just something that might be occasional.
It might be occasional, because our lives are busy with either work or family, or our special hobbies, but when you get a moment to like sit and relax, that person might cross their mind, and they'll say, that's maybe a time where I should call that person or check in because I haven't seen or talked to them in a while, so it's just that little moment that they cross your mind, for example, right? So I find that, friendship between men and women are very welcoming, only because we, as women, we need to have men stand up for women. We need them to help take a stand against issues of today, such as human trafficking, such as violence, So that aspect, it might not be, it might be just standing up for the rights of women is what we need. We need more of. So the friendship that we have is very much appreciative, and the best intentions with one another is to make sure that we don't impose ourselves onto another person's life unless we are welcome to do that.
But when you have a friend, like a man friend, or if I have a woman friend, do you think like we're unaware of that? We're just interested in them as a person, or we really know, at least in maybe our subconscious or like, the back of our mind, that no, I know that she is my woman friend. She's not only my friend, she's my woman friend. And this is one of the reasons why I like this friendship? Or is it, no, it's just you're like a friend of him and I'm a friend of her, regardless of him or her being man or woman?
Well, there's an aspect of being just an acquaintance to somebody,
Yeah.
and they just automatically assume that they're friends. But
Okay.
if they don't happen to have that aspect of respect and boundaries, they can think anything they want of that friendship.
Well, that's the magic word, boundaries here. This is a very important thing, because there's always this very fine line between, like friendship and romance. So when you have a friendship from the other gender, are there some kind of prerequisites you put for that friend different from that of a friend from the same gender? Like, is it like in terms of looks, for instance, does it matter at all? Like, how does your male friend look versus your female friend?
That's a good question. I have many male friends. I work with, well, it was because I was a firefighter for 9 years.
Yeah.
And so I worked very closely with men and women on the department.
Okay.
And our relationship was like family. We depended on each other for our lives, especially when we're going into structure fires, or we're working as a team and we have a job to do. So when you look at it from that kind of perspective, men and women can work together, as like communication is there, the respect, we know what we're capable of, so it is very much a very exciting opportunity to be friends, and it isn't, and having that respect and the open-mindedness, and you're giving everyone a chance to show who they are, or to be themselves, and accept them for who they are and what they offer.
And do you think there's any difference between having a friend from the other gender if you're single or if you are already in another relationship? Like, does it matter if you're married, you're not married, you have a boyfriend, you have a partner, or not? Like, do you think it would be easier for you to have a friend from the other gender if you're single, rather than if you're committed to another relationship?
I think that every individual has to know what their relationship is with themselves and with the other person. I've never wanted to, I guess you could say, that being hurt by somebody from being misunderstood, or not being honest about your intentions. I think that's probably the betrayal that everyone can feel, and I wouldn't wish that on anyone, right? So I'd like to say, like, people are very honest, but they have to take into consideration what their actions are going to affect other people that they're involved with. So it's better to base their decisions on not hurting others.
Definitely. But let's say that one day, a friend of yours comes and tells you, Cindy, actually, I'm really so romantically in love with you. I've been hiding this for a long time. What would be your reaction? Like, is that it? Is that the end of the friendship? Is there a way that you can be friends again?
I have had those opportunities, but I tell them I'm flattered, but based on, again, what I want, it's easier for me to know it's not in my interest, right? So they understand that, as long as I'm not, as long as I'm honest, but in a gentle way.
Yeah.
It's not where, you're ripping their heart out at the same time, right?
Definitely,
So the way you talk to them, again, it's out of respect. You treat people how you would want to be treated. You don't want them to feel uncomfortable or awkward after. It's okay to have those feelings, and it happens, right?
But would it be okay for you to like carry your on with your friendship after that? After they did this major
Yeah.
confession that they're romantically in love with you and
Well, it just depends on whether or not they respect your words and what you want. You, like I said, you can't impose yourself into someone else's life if
Sure.
it doesn't work. And I swear I've met and wanted to date celebrities, but it just wasn't going to work. No, I was just kidding. Yeah, but no, I honestly think, we giving, people a chance to be themselves, to express themselves. It's possible again, but because of the nature of myself, being with the fire department, my persona is completely different from, say, another woman where I would be running in or with a team that's
Okay.
going to fight fires, or in a dangerous moment where other people
Definitely.
are running out looking for help, right? So
Yeah, absolutely. But do you think your friend can be your love, but is it possible that your love can be your friend? Is it so love is a form of progress, of friendship, but can you regress? Is it possible to go back? So like if somebody comes and tells you, Cindy, I'm so madly in love with you, and then you tell them, thank you very much, I'm flattered, but like you tell them, you're not the right person, it's not the right time, whatever. Do you think it's okay for them to just swallow that and just carry on with a regular friendship? Do you think it's possible to
I think it is possible. Again, it's the way you say it. You don't want to hurt someone's feelings. I know they're going to have a little bit of sadness inside, and let you know that if they're disappointed in hearing your words,
Okay.
that they don't want to hear, right? But it's the honesty, it's respect, it's not helping, it's not giving them hope to something that doesn't exist, right? So that you're being real with them, and I think they appreciate that. As to maintaining a friendship after that, it just depends, because they might find someone, the next best thing just down the road, right?
Exactly,
so
yeah.
it depends on how they feel, whether they want to have that friendship with you still, right? So again, things change in people's lives. People in their lives come in, they come out, everything.
But do you think that if somebody would come and tell you, Cindy, I'm in love with you and so on, do you think it's just a one-sided thing? You never did anything that would trigger anything in them. You never maybe either intentionally or unintentionally encouraged them. Like maybe something you said, something that they might have misunderstood.
Well, I think partly that we how can I say it? When we look at trying to communicate in a good way, saying good things about people, they look nice, they have a great haircut, or they got new glasses, they look great, those things are compliments, and that, I know that people like hearing compliments about themselves, so I can't say that, don't give compliments, but, sometimes it gets people into trouble, might misread them.
Okay.
Right.
Okay. So they might think you have a crush on them, if you say that.
But for me, I compliment everyone, so I can't say that I give everybody an opportunity to know that they have a positive impact on themselves, right? So, I don't have any reservations on giving good, positive feedback, right? It's just how people take that, and but I tell them, I tell everyone, you'd rather have a person that supports you and gives you positive feedback than someone that will rip the rug out from you.
So how deep can you go with a friend from another gender. Like, let's say you have a problem with your husband or your boyfriend, whatever. And would you go and, you'd confide in your friend and you tell them that I'm having this problem with my husband now? Would you go and tell that to your male friend?
It just depends on where that relationship is. Because if it's an argument, then you should be working it out with that individual.
Okay.
Whereas if it is at the last stages and it could increase to domestic violence, then I would be talking to my friend,
Okay.
A male friend, or, again, when we have male friends, is to help us, protect us, and to make sure that we're safe. And so definitely, they have an opportunity to say no to you. It's like you can call the police or, but it's about that respect and, just cooperation.
So do you think, again, like having a male friend and you have and you're married, would you sometimes compare between your husband and your friend? Like, would it ever happen between your boyfriend and your friend, between your partner and your friend? Would it ever happen that you say, well, how come, why doesn't my husband do this to me? My friend brings me flowers, my husband ignored me,
Well, like I said, you have to be talking to your partner about these issues that you might be feeling or thinking about. And the faster you do that, the more you'll achieve further success than not doing that, right? But again, it's about evaluating and reflecting. Is that the relationship that you want? Is it meeting your needs? What's changed?
Okay.
Right. So we all have a choice to choose the partner that we want, and even to stay in the relationship that we want.
And are there some topics that you discuss with your male friend but not your female friend?
I believe so. There would be I more chances than not. I have talked to I guess you'd say to the female friend about my issues, whether it's my health but nothing really with the relationship. I think it's because friends support you and they'll take your side, and it could snowball into the opposite direction than what you'd want. Things can just sort of lose its foundation when too many people are involved. So that's why you have to take the consideration of your relationship is with two people.
So you wouldn't confide in your female friends to tell her about your relationship? Like if you're having something with your husband going on, for instance, or your boyfriend or your partner, you would not tell that to your female friend?
I don't. Well, yeah, I have talked to them about my issues that I might have, and that's usually, most often, it's about breakup. It's not about, you're already gone past the time where you want to work things out. It's like, okay, I've made a decision. Now I need your support to help me finish the relationship.
Okay. And another thing as well is that, how about if your husband or partner tells you, I don't want you to have this guy as your friend anymore. He gets on my nerves, or I'm jealous of him, or whatnot. What would you do?
Well, it depends on what that relationship means to me. And if it's work related, I'm certainly going to have that person in my life because it's work related. If it's just a friendship where I have a choice to either make my time with the friend or with my partner, I would have to look at what is really going on with between them, and I find that it would be that they would have to really trust you to continue that working relationship with that friend. You know, it has to come right down to it.
And can your friend become a veteran, like, a retired friend? So you'd still be your friend, but he's retired, like, and he'd have his, like, monthly pensions of care from you, but they're not so intimate anymore. So because they might have crossed the line of friendship, so they might have shown some, romantic feelings towards you, and just to make life easy for yourself, for your like spouse or your partner, and for your friend, you say, okay, you know what? You can be a former friend or a retired friend. You're just a war veteran there. So you can stay as my friend, but let's keep that distance. I'll approach you whenever it's possible. Is that possible, you think, to have a retired friend?
Well, I've never heard of that before, but I know that, again, that we have friends, people that come and go in our lives, and they might be there for a short time, they might be there for a long time, but you have to, it's based on choice whether you want them in your life. Because we're all so busy, you have to choose to make time to be friends with someone. And if you are friends with many people, it's hard to even put yourself down just to, a small few, instead of a lot, right? So, because family should come first.
Yeah,
first and
definitely.
foremost, right? And what I was taught was to keep your circle strong within your family. Your relationship with your partner is very important. Your children come first, and supporting their needs is that foundation. So you and your partner provide that foundation. You choose, like there's, I believe, when I was young, looking at, a potential partner, they were this very respected woman. She was like an aunt, and she told me, she's like, there's 4 different types of men, and it resonated with me because there were men that were young and not and just sort of like not take life serious. There were men that were angry. There were men that were hurt. And then there was men that was just sort of like ambitious, and they knew kind of like what they wanted to do in life. And each of those 4 men were to look at how they treat their mothers. And if there was an aspect of respect with their mother, then they were the ideal partner.
Okay. So you'd usually treat your wife or your girlfriend, your whatever, your partner, as the way you treat your mother.
That's right.
Yeah. Okay. Or like father then for for the woman.
No, it was how, when you observed the potential partner, you would be watching how he treated his mother, his sisters, only because because you were the next female that was coming into his family.
Yeah, okay.
So if there wasn't any respect, or if they were violent against you, you wouldn't want that for you and your daughters.
Of course, definitely. And when you have a friend again who's from the other gender, do you ever like stop and wonder, like, are they sexually attractive? Are they not? Like, does this ever cross your mind that my friend is sexually attractive? Oh, he's very handsome. She's very pretty. Like, oh, he's hot, and so on. Like, do you ever wonder these things?
You know what? Maybe when I was younger, that was part of the aspect of, the grooming where, you know, everything was, it was what I wanted to achieve in myself. But, you know, when I got older, it was more or less to understand the dynamics that people do change, and understand that appearance isn't always what we were before when we were younger.
Okay.
So having the aspect of being real with yourself, they will see those tributes that you project as well.
Okay, but isn't it dangerous? Like, do you think it's, or is it safe to have a friend who is more sexually attractive than your partner? Like, whether it's a friend for a man or a woman, like, you know, that, and you know for a fact that this person is really sexually attractive, much more attractive than my partner. Would there be any danger there?
Again, it has to go up that with the individual, because you know, and what they believe in, what their integrity is, you know, because that's an aspect of trust that you build within yourself, and you know you can walk away from that attractive person, or that you know that it's not going to happen.
So it's integrity again.
That's
like
right.
it's the rapport you have toward vis-a-vis like the other partner, like what you, what kind of agreement you have with them. And do you believe in the term platonic love? Like, you know, so it's just love of the soul, of the senses, but like nothing sexual. Is that possible, to be like someone might come and tell you, I'm so much in love with you, but I'm not looking at you as a female. I'm looking at you as a human.
Well, I would like to, you know, like if we thought of it that way, like the friendship that we have right here, it's about caring, and it's you know, it's about the possibilities of being creative, you know, for an end result, you know.
Okay.
And I think, you know what, it's even though that person, those individuals might be attractive, there's always going to be another attractive person.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely. And how do you deal with that? Like, this is a question a lot of people wonder about, and people who like never been into relationships yet, and even people who are in relationships, is like, if you have a relationship, if you have a permanent relationship, whether it's marriage, you know, partnership, whatnot, and do you stop recognizing an attractive man? Or like, would a man stop recognizing an attractive woman once he's married? So if he sees a woman, he'll never notice that she's attractive? Or like a woman would never see a man attractive as long as she's married? Is this real?
I think that people, when they're real with themselves, being honest with themselves, they're going to see the beauty in others, regardless of whether it's skin deep or just facial, you know,
It's
like
just a facade, yeah.
Yeah, you know, like it's and that's what I would like to have people understand, that the beauty comes within that person, of everyone, you know. And you know, some people think confidence is beauty. Some people think, you know, the mind is beautiful, right? And so I really do believe in that, because, you know, someone might not have talent. Like for example, there was this guitar player. He was blind, but he could play magnificent music on this guitar, and you know, that was beautiful, right?
Absolutely,
he was beautiful
definitely,
in his
definitely.
own element, right? But
yeah, of course.
People need to understand that, again, it's there. You can enjoy the beauty of others, and just leave it as that, you know, or you can pursue that relationship. It's up to you, and then have that open-mindedness, is that you might not hear the words that you want to hear, and just know at least you tried, right? At least you gave it a chance.
And when you look for a friend, like, do you have the same criteria that you'd have for a partner? Like, would you look for a specific cultural background for your friend? Specific, like your friend should be believing in the same thing you believe in. They should have the same cultural background. If I'm a bigot, like I'm someone who's not ready to change my mind, so I'm always looking for a friend who would have the same attributes as I am. Like, what are the criteria for choosing a friend? Like, are they similar to that of, spouse?
Mm-hmm. Well, I would like to, think again. I've been in that situation where I was friends with somebody, but they said they didn't want to be my friend because I was Native.
Oh, okay.
And it was because they had got into a marriage, and he told me that he wasn't allowed to be my friend anymore.
Just because you're a Native.
Yeah, and because so that was my first experience as to
Native as in First Nation.
right.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, and we were in college, for I guess you'd say 3 years together,
Mm-hmm.
and he met his girlfriend, his future wife, and it was devastating, to hear that, because he was at my firstborn's birth. He came to see, right,
Mm-hmm.
my firstborn in the hospital. That's how close we were.
Yeah.
Yeah. So.
So
Yeah, I wanted to. So when you mentioned that, my mind immediately went back to that time.
definitely. Well, it's definitely a hot topic, so let's cool down a little bit with this musical break. Don't go away.
You say you love me, I say you crazy. We're nothing more than friends. You're not my lover, more like a brother. I know you since we were like 10. Yeah, don't mess it up, talking that shit. Only gonna push me away, that's it. When you say you love me, that made me crazy. Here we go again. Don't go look at me with that look in your eye. You really ain't going nowhere without a fight. You can't be reasoned with don't be impolite. I told you 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6,000 times. Haven't I made it obvious? Haven't I made it clear? Want me to spell it obvious? F-R-I-N-D-S. Haven't I made it obvious? Haven't I made it clear? Want me to spell it obvious? F-R-I-N-D-S. F-R-I-N-D-S. You got no shame, you looking insane, turning up at my door. 2 in the morning, the rain is pouring. Haven't we been here before? Don't mess it up, talking that shit. Only gonna push me away, that's it. You got no shame, you looking insane. Here we go again. So don't go look at me with that look in your eye. You really ain't going nowhere without a fight. You can be reasoned, but don't be impolite. I told you 1, 2, 3, 4.
Isn't it obvious? This song says, don't look at me with this look in your eye. So, again, would we say that, is it fair to say that you love your friend or that you like your friend? Like, is the term love, a proper term? Mm-hmm. Or is it like liking, or are there like levels of love? How would you define your feelings towards a friend, a male friend, that is?
I would say that I like my friend.
Mm-hmm.
My time would be always divided as to whether or not my family or work or everything came before that person. Mm-hmm. And making time, though, it would be a commitment, though. If you say you're going to do something, you would follow through with it.
Okay.
Like if they invited you for dinner, and you said yes, be there at that time. I know things do come up, but chances are you still respect that time and follow through with the
But
meeting.
you'd avoid saying that I love my friend. You would not use the term love for a male friend or like a female friend, I guess, right?
Actually, you could say that love as well, because you begin to understand the depth of that person and the impact in your life, especially when they get sick or they die. You feel that that grief, and that loss of their friendship. And sometimes you don't know that the level until they've moved on or passed on.
Yeah. Unfortunately, like it's a human trait. You don't appreciate things until you lose them. And one of our viewers, Adeline Andrawski, says, like, friends are friends as long as the relationship identity is clear.
That's right. Yeah. Looking at the boundaries, looking at that respect for each other. So he's absolutely right.
So as long as you put the boundaries, as long as you put the rules, it's clear. But you should
intentions.
Exactly. You should never leave any point that is vague, or you should never leave any gray areas.
That's right. And that gives you that reassurance, even if you have a partner or a spouse. They want to know where you stand and where do they stand, right? So, and that's reassuring in any relationship.
And can you take advantage of, so that this person loves you, you don't love them back, but you're enjoying that. It's flattering. That's one thing. Another thing, you can exploit them. You can take full advantage,
Unfortunately,
and abuse them.
Some people do. Yes, it happens. The aspect of testing the waters, or not really sure where it's going to go, but giving them that chance. So some people say it's leading on, right? But I think that chemistry, that other person will know whether or not you're into them or not.
And if you hit by the bow of love, can you ever be cured? Is there like an antidote for this? Is there a remedy?
Cupid? I don't know.
Cupid, exactly.
I don't know. I'm an archer and I pretend to be Cupid, but I haven't been very successful in matchmaking, right? But I really don't know whether or not the aspect of love can be, followed through with it in that aspect. With Valentine's Day coming up, I don't know.
Yeah, exactly.
Lots of arrows flying everywhere, right? So.
Exactly. Yeah, we're almost there. Like it's almost like a month away.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, almost exactly a month away. Yeah, absolutely. And like Valentine will fall on a Friday, I believe.
Yes, it will.
Yeah, it will fall on a Friday.
So set your dinner reservations for Friday the 14th.
Yeah, that's a close one. Like just one day difference, but a huge one. Absolutely. Now, you being an Aboriginal woman, and so how do Aboriginal people or the Aboriginal culture look at friendship per se, and then friendship between different genders?
Well, that's an interesting topic, because our first treaty was made with the Dutch, and it was called the Truro Wampum Treaty. And it was established on the friendship and honesty and integrity. Like those three things of being able to work together and live side by side was a foundation for governance and taking care of the land with one another, right? As an Indigenous woman, our people were very, our teachings talk about being hospitable, sharing our food, sharing our what resources that we have for the person, for another person. And that's where the compassion comes in. Because when people are without and they're suffering, we're to take them under our wing and help them, get straighten their clothes off, brush their hair, feed them, and then they can, they could be set on their way to continue
Yeah.
their journey. So friendship in itself is an aspect of our nature.
Mm-hmm. So you think, like you said, friendship is an aspect of our nature. Mm-hmm. But again, like friendship between two different genders for the indigenous people,
Mm-hmm.
like how was it like? Was it there? Was it a taboo? Was it allowed within limits? Like how was it like?
Well, as for the first and foremost of our culture, the men always were like with themselves,
Mm-hmm.
because they had a responsibility of either getting wood or going hunting or protecting the women.
Mm-hmm.
And so within our culture, many of the men that would be in our families or in our circles, they would be either the husbands or the sons or the uncles,
Mm-hmm.
So or grandparents, right?
Okay. Yeah.
So having those large families, it was the women that were in charge of everything. So my mother, my grandmother, my aunts would be living together, and we would be all together as a family, working with one another, such as gardening or gathering,
Mm-hmm.
food, or just spending time with each other, right? So the interaction was different, but friendship in itself was to your partner.
Okay.
Right? Because a lot of times it was, meeting them at community events, or your family would be being introduced to another family, right? So friendship in itself was to see whether or not people liked each other, right?
So, but again, in a community, in a gathering,
Yeah.
like not an individual, like
Right.
not like like boy girlfriend or
Mm-hmm.
just two friends from the different genders.
Yeah.
It did not exist.
Well, it does now, because we're all in a community now where school is a part of, the dating scene, if you want to call it, so
Of course. Yeah.
or extracurricular activities such as baseball or hockey or some type of sports, right? So those are the two main things, or like I said, community events, right? So where
Okay.
people begin to meet, begin to spend time with one another, but it's getting to know that person and what they're all about, and we still guide our young women to choose a good partner, to look at the aspects of how they carry themselves, and whether or not, the other men or males respect him too.
Okay. So, like for the indigenous culture, is it possible for a married woman to like have a male friend? Like, was it okay with the husband?
Well, it's been changing, right? Because of, the times that people are working more in the workforce, both couples, right? So the men and women. I would like to, think about this as every relationship has to be built with trust.
Okay.
Whether like when you come together, you have to trust the other person, until they show otherwise.
Okay.
Right. And that's what's going to be the basis of whether or not you continue to have a relationship with that person.
Okay, so how sincere they are, so how sincere that person is. And this will take us to maybe, I guess, our second topic, and very important topic, is how sincere are human beings? How sincere are they with one another? How sincere are they with other creatures?
Mm-hmm.
And do they really practice what they preach? Do they, they say something but do something different? To what extent do you think humans are sincere, if we just talk very generally? To what extent do you think humans are sincere creatures or sincere beings, honest beings?
I think maybe at one time they were very sincere in that their words were were very meaningful.
So
And,
when would that?
Well, like I said, the increase, if we look at society, the increase of violence,
Mhm.
the increase of missing people, or things are changing radically. That it people don't really feel safe in their
Mhm.
homes or their neighborhoods, or so it's we have to look at the sincerity of men to help protect us and to stand against human trafficking or
Okay.
protecting women in general, right?
So I think that violence would lead to hypocrisy?
I would like to think that I'm not saying to be violent. I'm saying that men need to stand up for women, and
Yeah.
and whether that's calling the police, or letting people know that it's unacceptable, like other men, what they're doing is unacceptable
Mhm.
toward against women. As a person that wants to help prevent violence against women and girls and children, basically, I think this is communicated across the world, right?
And yeah, like, why do people do this? Like, if we talk about relationships, so in the beginning, like if they're engaged, they're still just getting to know one another.
Mm-hmm.
If they're in the honeymoon period, everything's fantastic. You give like promises, you're building, like castles in heaven and whatnot.
Mm-hmm.
But later on, everything starts dwindling, and then you end up with nothing. So this extra romantic, extra sensitive husband becomes the most aggressive, most careless husband and starts beating his wife. And the other way around too. The very caring wife or like lover, she would start like not caring about her husband, or maybe trying to dominate him or use him.
Mm-hmm.
Why do people do this, you think?
Well, it's really hard to say as to what individuals are going through.
Mm-hmm.
I would, like we have resources in our communities to get help, to have that support,
Mm-hmm.
whether it's counseling or having a support group, or just helping, like have peers helping them, right?
Okay.
It's work to improve yourself, or even to help you grow.
Mm-hmm.
We don't want negative experiences all the time to force us to grow. We'd rather have people be ready to implement change when they're ready, or when they're with a positive effect instead of a negative one.
Mm-hmm.
And I would hope that when I speak in the community for Indigenous people, my motto is to be seen, be heard, be
Mm-hmm.
known, and that's the reason why I'm here, is to help
Yeah.
people understand the Indigenous people are alive and thriving and making a difference. And our teachings that talk about our like human beings' relationship with nature is that we're the stewards of the land,
Yeah.
and the water, and we're to protect those elements to help us survive. And within my culture, our ceremonies give thanks to the environment and
Mm-hmm.
to the earth, and so that the interconnectedness of all these elements maintain life as we know it here. And it's in regarding that relationship with others, it's to help us have a way to conduct ourselves, to conduct our behavior, our language with one another. And, you know, when we talk softly to one another, it's more received. It's received properly. Whereas being harsh and rigid, we're not going to be getting anywhere with trying to have that cooperation and respect for one another.
Do you think that humans care very much about images? You know, like they care so much about the facade. They don't care so much like, you know, the profound meaning of things. They'd rather care about like how nice that thing looks from the outside. And here I'm talking about in all aspects of life, in all aspects of, you know, politics, religion, whatnot, in everything. You just like to look nice from the outside. You'd like to have that image. But in reality, it's really hollow, like there's nothing inside. It's totally void. Do you think that humans are just like, they love acting, like pretending that they have, you know, sincerity, pretending that they're caring, pretending?
Well, you know, when we are in this aspect of climate change and, you know, the solutions are being put forth on the table as to how everyone can help save our planet, it's a choice whether they comply with trying to cooperate with one another, or they just sort of dismiss it and say, I'm only here for the moment, you know, but they're not taking into consideration that their children and the future generations are going to be affected.
And look at this, like, you know, just if we contemplate a little bit and think about the term, the United Nations, the United Nations, like uniting as one.
Right.
Do we have a united world today? Like, did we ever have a united world since the creation of the United Nations?
Well, we have work to do.
Definitely. So it's just a name. You know, we love to say that we have a United Nations, but we're never united. Humans are not united. Like, there are a lot of divisive, you know, like divisive rhetoric that's coming out all the time, you know, separating people.
Yes, the separation of individuals is hard to live with, only because we all have a responsibility here. And taking the initiative, such as protecting our waters, you know, look what happened with Australia, with all of their water that's, you know, disappeared.
Yeah, like, like, you know, animals are dying, koalas are dying, you know, like habitats, natural habitats.
Everything's burnt.
Exactly. You know, natural habitats of poor animals, poor creatures, the ecosystem as a whole is being, you know, like jeopardized here. But humans always say that we are the most sensitive, most caring creatures on this planet that has walked on this planet. We're the masters of the earth. We're the masters of this planet. Like, do you think they've really earned their leadership of the planet?
As to protecting our planet, no.
Yeah.
They we have an issue about where a nuclear dump site is going to be located on the Great Lakes. That is going to jeopardize millions of people. Yeah, we have the oil pipeline. That's,
Trans Mountain.
Yeah. And then we also have our garbage that we've disposed in landfill sites. And where is it going to go in, you know, 10 years, 20 years? You know, there is much work to do to try to reverse the problems that have been.
And the ice caps, you know, like they're melting.
Yeah.
Ozone depletion, you know, like we've just brought a lot of chaos to the planet since we existed.
But there's millions and millions of dollars looking for at them and gone to the military departments whereas they could be looking at reversing the pollution that's affecting
Exactly.
this planet.
But
That's where the
yeah.
United Nations should be helping to unite us.
But
more
unfortunately, they're never united. You have the Security Council. You have the human rights. You just have these committees with very shiny names, but they don't really practice what they preach. They say that we want, universal peace and whatnot, but do they really strive to do that? Do they really try to do that? That's the question.
I think we have to tap into our grassroots people to help bring that that idea, that vision to life. Because it's like you said, I agree with you. It's not working. We need to start over and go back and regroup.
Because for Indigenous people, the tree is my sister or brother. It's from the mother. They came from the mother's feet, the mother's body. Everything came from the mother.
Yeah, the trees are the lungs.
Yeah, so here are. So it's part of. It's part of me. It's part of my mom. It's
right.
So I can't ruin it.
If we don't have the trees, they produce the oxygen. We produce the carbon monoxide. That's what carbon dioxide. That's what how our relationship is. We exchange.
Exactly.
And so when we're we, because of the fires between South America and in Africa, we need to start reforestation in North America. So
it's a big disaster, really. What happened to the Amazons, what's happening in Australia, what happened in North America, in Northern Europe as well. A lot of forests, the green belt of the earth, the green cap of the earth, the lungs of the earth are burning.
Right.
It's we're extremely heavy smokers. We're chain smokers. The planet is because all these factories, and the emissions and the car emissions, it's you're a chain smoker. And the more you smoke, the more you burn your lungs.
Yeah. So we're looking at sincerity of humans to come back and do their part as to whether it's a part of the tree planting, whether it's helping to preserve our waters. We need every effort to be recognized as a collective, and I know that there are groups that are starting to take this initiative, and I congratulate them, and I hope that they keep the momentum.
Definitely. And as far as beliefs are concerned, religion is concerned, so people would always say that religion A or B or C, it preaches, it calls for mutual understanding, unconditional love, universal peace, and so on. And you should love the other like you love yourself. But do people really do that? That is the question. Do they really do that? They say the religion tells you to love everyone unconditionally, but you're even having problems with your neighbor.
Yeah, it's getting difficult. There's stresses that are affecting people. Whether it's their own life or it's the stress that they're seeing on the outside world, it's all affecting them. And the stress levels that I've been working with individuals, they're they just want to have some of that peace, that peace where they can just sort of feel relief, or they can just sit and be content and not have to worry, because there just seems to be a constant worry as to of everything, and it feels like a burden to them.
Absolutely. And here comes the real, I would say, trillion-dollar question is, are we really progressing or are we regressing? Before we get to answer this question, let's take another break and we'll be back soon.
شراء أو استئجار عقار سكني أو تجاري. هل تبحث عن خدمات عقارية في تورونتو، ميسيساغا أو أي من المدن القريبة؟ والآن وكيلة العقارات سهير البشير تقدم لكم خدماتها المميزة مع مصداقية مشهودة في التعامل. كل ما عليك فعله هو الاتصال على الرقم 647-993-1967 أو عبر موقعنا على الإنترنت suhairalbashir.ca. سهير البشير لخدماتك العقارية.
هل يجب أن يكون الاختلاف سببا للفرقة والخلاف؟ فأخاف منك ومني تخاف؟ أم أن الأمر على العكس من ذلك تماما؟ فالتنوع هو طبيعة الكون من ألوان وأنواع وأشكال في الكائنات وتباين في ثقافات البشر. الكون كله مجموعة من الأطياف التي تتناغم مع بعضها البعض. وأطياف هو اسم برنامجنا الأسبوعي الذي نبحر فيه مع حضراتكم في كل جوانب التنوع وجماله. أطياف مع محمد الحضري كل اثنين 7 مساء فقط على Arabs FM. And we're back again. So, before the break, can you remember the question I asked?
I remember the question. I've been thinking about it.
Yeah.
I think our progress has come to a point where we're regressing to that's it's coming to an aspect where the life that we know, it's going to crumble. Mm-hmm. Like the world is changing. And I don't know if you've seen how many earthquakes there has been. Mm-hmm. The offset of 3 volcanoes in 3 different places now.
Definitely.
And so we're the change within the world is starting to happen, and how it's going to affect us is we're just beginning to see some of the effects now. But if the ash continues, right, mm-hmm. It's still going to affect the ozone and how much sunlight's going to be coming through, and the chemicals that come into the atmosphere as well, right? So there, like I said, it's everything is changing.
So you think we're regressing? We're burning our spaceship.
Yeah,
a spaceship that carries us in the universe, and we're burning it.
Well, they say that it's almost like the Earth's on fire, right? That's what they're
exactly.
making it the reference to, and again, we need to put the fires out, or we need to work together for that.
Definitely.
Right? So I hope that we can still come together as people. That's if this is what the Earth has to do to help us come together, mm-hmm. to cooperate and to help our humanity take the initiative to make the Earth a priority. That's what
Absolutely.
We're going to have to come right down to.
This is the only thing that we would necessarily share. It's the same land and the same sky, mm-hmm. the same atmosphere. Which brings us to another question as well. So we're not progressing in terms of our relationship vis-a-vis the Earth, or actually we're destroying it. We're destroying our planet. But as individuals, do you think that we as individuals have really developed? Are we better than our ancestors in any way as individuals?
Well, I believe, we are so absorbed into our technology
Mhm.
that we can start to see some of the aspects of poor communication skills, aspects of social skills of people making friends.
Yeah.
There's that.
And sincerity as well. Like if we're
Yeah.
talking about, social media. So a very common thing is phishing, the PH phishing, not the F phishing. So like phishing through the internet, like, you just send, all sorts of emails, make calls and whatnot from fake accounts, and you try to, sort of strip people of everything. You try to cheat people, manipulate people, and so on. You impersonate other people.
Right.
And I can pretend to be anyone. I can pretend to be a woman, like on the internet. Like you don't really know who I am.
That's right. That's right. And it's the other person that's thinking, that you're 100% of who you are, right? And it's very misleading. And like they've shown, the individuals who have been robbed of money, or they've given them thousands of dollars for their requests. So
Yeah, so a lot of ripoffs happen off the internet, and again, like our little toys or gadgets here that we're so proud of, but where did they really take us? Like, and again, talking about like the First Nations, the indigenous people, when the first people came here, the first immigrants came here, and the first settlers came here, they were supposedly bringing civilization.
right.
Yeah,
Yes, I know that.
they're bringing civilization.
Yeah.
But, like, let's compare, the life with the indigenous people, just for the sake of argument, the primitive people, the backward people. How was the environment like when they were there? How are the animals like when they were there? How are the streams like it, and the forests and whatnot? And again, how's their sense of direction? How's their memory like? How is their physique like?
Well, luckily, the history books that the non-native people wrote were semi-truthful. Their labeling that they had done, was communicated back that we were, the term savages, and so they really put themselves on a pedestal as being the dominant culture, and the dominant culture imprisoned their people. The dominant culture enslaved them. The dominant culture stole from other cultures in for the sake of their God, or their faith, or their religion. So all the resources were taken away as it being their right, and that's the reality of indigenous people, is that they came to look for gold, and what they found was corn and timber and
beavers and
all those things. So they were very apt to strip this land
and the waters too.
Right.
Yeah, the fish and like the clam and whatnot.
Yeah. So when we look at the purpose of them being here, they saw a peaceful people that that they thought was the shortcut to India, and they called us Indians because we had dark skin and black hair, and
they thought they reached the East Indies. Yeah.
right,
Yeah.
and so that term, being Indians, stayed with us for over 500 years. So in 1492, when Christopher Columbus landed on the East Coast, he had set his sights on claiming this land for the king.
Yeah.
And
John Cabot set sail almost at the same time. So Christopher Columbus, John Cabot, almost at the same time.
Right. And all those European countries tried to stake claim here. And
later on, Jacques Cartier from France, and
that's right.
So on. Yeah.
And the French don't really like that aspect that they were defeated. And that's where the aspect of that they have Quebec, that they were still allowed to stay here in Canada, and that is a part of their history, and that they were still allowed to be here because of the with the king granting that.
Yeah.
Right. So, but the heartache that my people have had is that, we've lost our land because it was manipulated out. There was stories, because our stories are
not
oral.
lost only land, it's lives even.
Right. Lives, resources.
A great amount of lives. We're talking about like maybe 80% or something.
Right, because our bodies did not have the immunity to diseases that just nearly wiped us out, and our aspect, when they referred Indian wars, it was our people trying to protect, our families, our land, and that there was an historical accounts where we tried to share the land with them, and so
and unfortunately until today, like in the reserve areas, like if we talk about schools, for instance, so in many of these areas you don't have high schools. Right. So for a student to go to high school, they need to leave their families. And so like no high schools, universities.
Some in the northern communities.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? So,
you don't have that. So some people like go to Thunder Bay and whatnot. And again, even the elementary schools you have are below standard. Very old buildings.
Yeah, well, I would say the buildings, I'm going to just talk about Six Nations because that's where I'm from.
Yeah, but yeah.
And our schools are approximately about 25 years old. We have, I guess, five major schools, and we have two private schools. And so there's like one school that's called Gaunil. It's a private school, and they do for full immersion, which is great because we're a multi-language community. We speak English, but we have Mohawk and Cayuga as the dominant languages that we're learning. But we also have Onondaga and we have other languages that people begin to
Which
speak.
Actually reminds me of my request last time we met here on air, and I was asking you if there's a possibility of starting, a language class. Yeah,
an online language class.
Yeah.
Well, I think we're going to just start off with the word of today. And today's word is Scano in Cayuga, because that's my background. I'm Cayuga Turtle Clan. And so when we say hello, we say Scano. And what it means is, are you, with peace? And
okay. That's
so
lovely.
you say, so it'd be like Scano Gant. Are you too, carrying
so
peace?
Scano would be like, are you in peace?
Yeah.
Or like a wish, or peace be upon you.
Yes.
Oh, that's beautiful. Yeah.
Yeah, and so with our languages, we continue to strive to build the language base because of residential school. We weren't that language was taken away for many of the generations. So we're starting to rebuild, and that's what I mean, like how we're thriving as a community, as people.
And that's another interesting aspect that in most cultures and like, whether it's because of a cultural reason or religious reason, the usual greeting or the authentic greeting always has the word peace within it. But how ironic can you be? Like, although we say peace, 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 peace all the time, but we're always fighting because humans, again, are not sincere enough.
Yes, and that's why we try to help people understand the aspect of communicating and building those relationships. And it starts with being a child. If no one pays attention to a child, they're going to be just sort of like by themselves and not learn any skills of communication or what is right from wrong. But we have to understand the importance is always family is first, and we have to spend that time with them, that quality time. It's just not the same room, but if we're not talking with one another, they're not going to be learning etiquette or manners or values.
Absolutely. Totally agree. I can't agree more. Let's take our last break.
Okay.
Don't go away. Stay with us.
If you ever find yourself stuck in the middle of the sea, I'll sail the world to find you. If you ever find yourself lost in the dark and you can't see, I'll be the light to guide you. Find out what we're made of when we are called to help our friends in need. You can count on me like 1, 2, 3, I'll be there. And I know when I need it, I can count on you like 4, 3, 2, you'll be there. 'Cause that's what friends are supposed to do, oh yeah. Ooh, ooh, yeah, yeah. If you're tossing and you're turning and you just can't fall asleep, I'll sing a song beside you. And if you ever forget how much you really mean to me, every day I will remind you. Oh, find out what we're made of when we are called to help our friends in need. You can count on me like 1, 2, 3, I'll be there. And I know when I need it, I can count on you like 4, 3, 2, you'll be there. 'Cause that's what friends are supposed to do all day. Ooh, ooh.
Well, you can count on me like 1, 2, 3. I'll be there. And I know I can count on you like 4, 3, 2. You'll be there. Wow. Wouldn't it be a great world if everybody felt like that towards the other?
Oh, yes. I'm really, really happy today for being here. And
it's a great pleasure, as always.
Yes. I wanted to, share this because my friend Deepa, she and my other friend Jessica, we're one of the founding members of our group called Women of the Earth Empowerment, and we call it We. So it's, we work with women from everywhere, mostly here in Peel and Brampton, Mississauga area. to help them feel not only welcome in Canada, but also help them, support them, motivate them to be their best self.
That's a great thing. And Deepa Mohanty, like the great producer, director, writer, she has her film coming up.
Yes.
We're all looking forward to that. And it's again, women's right, like love of the soul, not the face, not the body. It's within, like unconditional love.
Yep. She's a beauty. I love her. So I do love her.
Yeah, like she's great. She's absolutely great. Yeah, definitely. She's a great person and a great artist too, and a great fighter.
Yes.
Just like yourself, for all kinds of women's rights, human rights, environment, and so on. Yeah.
Right. So Women of the Earth Empowerment is to take that initiative as well, not only to speak on behalf of women, but on behalf of the earth and what the earth needs, and to try to motivate everyone to come together. So I would really, I am excited about working with Deepa as well. We're going to be working on a film together, so
Fantastic.
it's great, and I have a lot of faith in Deepa. She's very, very compassionate, and she sees.
Can we sneak a peek?
Oh, I wish. I just know that she's going to be helping me communicate with, telling the story of one of my ancestors. Her name is Pauline Johnson. And Pauline Johnson is the first Indigenous poetess, and she was a member of and she is the only person that's buried in Stanley Park in Vancouver. And I had the opportunity to go and offer tobacco at her monument, and give that time to be with her. And me and my daughters, we had a great time there. She's most famous for the poem called "The Song My Paddle Sings," and I'm an avid paddler, and I just enjoy being on the water with my daughters. And so, hi girls, I just want to say hi.
Hello.
Yeah. So I have a very ambitious aspect of my relationship with the water. Full Commodore for the Galway Canoe Club.
Beautiful.
So we teach canoeing and kayaking and stand-up board for youth, all ages actually, and so that's one of the things that I'm going to be doing with Deepa, and getting her on the water and paddling with me for the summer.
Fantastic. And that's the great twosome, like you and her. Like, yeah, we'd better watch out. Seriously, something once you have like Cindy and Deepa, something great is in the making.
Yeah,
definitely. Cindy, as always, it's always great having you, and this as well has been an exceptional time and show. Like we usually go between 7 and 8, but this time we went 7 to 8:30. But definitely, we'll never have enough of having you. Would really love to have you again.
Thank you.
Whenever it's possible.
Yeah,
absolutely, because there's a lot, we can benefit from you and from your experience as an activist, as a woman, and as an Indigenous woman too. Definitely.
Oh, thank you. I really am honored to be here. Thank you to the
Thank you very
listeners
much.
for being here and listening to me. I appreciate that. And we're look on Facebook for Women of the Earth Empowerment, and
absolutely
we'll be keeping in touch with everyone.
Definitely. Dear listeners and viewers, thank you very much for being with us today, and thanks time and again for Cindy being with us here, and we're always looking forward to having her again. So she promised us on air that she'll be with us again. So
yes.
And I know that she will fulfill her promise. She keeps her promises, and a great film is on the way for Deepa Mohanty, and then another one for Cindy and Deepa as well.
Yes, that's right.
Absolutely.
So we're going to keep her busy.
Definitely, yeah. We're all looking forward to that. Dear listeners of Vera, thank you very much, as usual, for so generous and kind to host us, actually, for this time. And until we meet again, I wish you all the best. But for our Arabic speakers, don't forget our meeting on Monday, 7 to 9, this coming Monday, for a special topic. Until we meet again, Thursday, same time. Thursday, not Friday. This is an exceptional episode, but we'll go back again to Thursday at 7 p.m. Until we meet again, all the best and take good care. Bye-bye.